Hi, thank you so much. I am so delighted to be here, and I want to start our time together by being in gratitude. I believe that gratitude is the currency of the universe. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy life to come and to receive what we have to offer, and thank you to our hosts for creating this amazing space for us to be together. So I am really excited to share today, and I want to start by asking everyone here, how many of you have a mom? Great, you all have a mom. That's awesome. I kind of figured that. And how many of you are also parents yourselves? So can we have a show of hands on that? Great. I want to share with you a little bit about my story, and that is that, becoming a mom was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And I have to tell you that it absolutely changed everything in my life, and one of the things that it changed for me was it really changed my priorities around how I was going to show up in the world. And when I had my son, James, I have to share with you, it was a big traumatic experience to have this child. He was born emergency C-section about 6 weeks early. He had a cord over his shoulder, around his leg twice, and tied in a knot. And when I went in to have my 6 weeks before having him check up, his heartbeat was down to 90. And so we had to have an emergency C-section. And I wasn't even ready. I didn't even have his bedroom ready. I hadn't had a shower yet. We didn't have any clothes for him. Nothing was ready. And the whole thing was an emergency, and it was such a dramatic entrance for this child, and a dramatic entrance for me, frankly, coming into motherhood, to have the whole thing be this gigantic emergency. And I think probably the worst part about the entire process was my anesthetist was drunk when he was trying to stick the needle in my back at midnight at night. So that was not a pleasant experience by any stretch of the imagination. But what becoming a mom did for me was it really, it was because it was such a traumatic experience, and because we spent 7 days in the neonatal intensive care unit with one another before I could bring him home, it really made me value the preciousness of life. And I grew up during the era where moms stayed home and dads went to work, but I also came into my adulthood during the era where women went to work and where both parents were working in order to just bring enough bread onto the table to make sure that everybody was fed. And so having this child, it really set up for me this enormous conflict. And from the moment he was born, I had this huge conflict in myself that I was torn. I was torn between making money to put bread on the table and put a roof over our head, and being with my child and really having quality time with this boy who was such a precious and miraculous gift. In fact, we found out after he was born that if he had been born naturally, if he had not been born by cesarean section, he probably would have had a brain hemorrhage and died, because he was born with a special challenge that we resolved after he was born easily with some blood transfusions, but he had low blood platelet count. So if he had been born naturally, he probably would have died as well. So he was just a real miracle for me, and really came into my life to show me the value of life and to show me the value of creating a life that works. So fast forward a number of years, and I spent most of his childhood, his early childhood, both working and trying to be a mom at the same time, and it was a huge, huge conflict for me, and it was a huge stress all the time in my life, because when I was at work, I was thinking about him, and when I was at home, I was thinking about work, and I never really felt like I could wholly bring myself to the table in any of my relationships. Never mind my relationship with his dad. So anyway, what that led me to do was really, it led me to a place of deep soul searching, and as a result of that deep soul searching, I ended up having a spiritual awakening, and I actually had such a profound spiritual awakening that I ended up changing my name as a result of that, which, of course, I asked about being moms before. And whether you had any moms, I'm not sure if you've ever had an experience with your mom where you did something that was completely outside of her realm of reality and it caused some friction there. Well, I'll tell you, changing my name to Amethyst Wildfire definitely has caused some friction with my mom. And she still doesn't get it 10 years later, but it's not my job to make her get it. She'll figure it out on her own, I'm sure, exactly on time. Anyway, I ended up, when he was about 3 years old, we had a really bad experience in daycare, and that was again a very traumatic experience that made me question everything that I was doing in my life. And that traumatic experience really led to my spiritual awakening process as well. So what I ended up doing was I actually left my career of 20 years in real estate to pursue this spiritual path that I saw laid out in front of me. And I came home. I came home when he was 6, and I spent 2 years at home and did a lot of work on myself to get clear. So this is one tip that I think is really important for you to know today, that I want you to take away. You've got to be clear with yourself. You've got to be clear about who you are, why you're here, and what you're here to deliver into the world. If you're going to be a messenger, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to create a life that is based on your gifts fitting in to the marketplace and a lifestyle that you want for yourself, whether it's being a stay-at-home mom or having 2 houses, one in Florida and one in New Hampshire, whatever that lifestyle is, you're entitled to have that. And the only way you're going to get it, though, is if you are clear. If you are clear within yourself. So this is the first piece of information that I want you to really take in today. Clarity is divinity. And when you are clear with yourself and you're clear with what you're here to offer and what you're here to deliver, then people are going to naturally connect with you, the ones that are supposed to connect with you, and they will happily provide you with some currency. So that's tip number 1. And what I want to say is that I actually have spent the last 10 years working on my own clarity. And during that course of that time, always with this intention that I was going to spend as much time as I humanly possibly could being present for and connecting with my son. Being present for and connecting with him as a parent and as a person, and helping to shape his life and shape his world. And I just really wanted him to be in that space where he felt held and supported and loved all the time. So during my journey, I ended up going through a number of iterations. I had a healing art center and an art gallery, and I created a street festival, and then I ended up online. And in the last 5 years, I actually built a multi-6-figure business, and I've been literally prospering in my PJs for the last 5 years. And it was really important to me when he stepped into adolescence to be at home. It became even more important for me to be at home then than it was when he was in his younger years. And so I had to have not only this clarity about who I was or why I was here, but I also had to have the courage to be able to speak my truth, share my message, and claim my value in the world. And I do a lot of work with clients, with visionary entrepreneurs, helping them in these areas. I help them to get clear on what their message is. I help them to have that courage, that inner confidence, that strength to be able to stand in the spotlight like I'm standing today and speak their truth and share their message and express it to the world. And the third thing that I felt like I really saw over time that came in very handy for me, that was really important, was creativity. So clarity is divinity. You've got to be courageous. And courageous means you need to believe in yourself, and you need to believe in what you know to be true and your higher source, whether you want to call it source or spirit or God or higher self or universe, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. But what I know to be true is that if you are inspired to bring any kind of message out into the world, it's because it's coming to you from your source of inspiration. So courage, I believe, is about connecting to and having a relationship with that source of inspiration. And when you have that relationship with that source of inspiration, your heart is going to be wide open. your heart is going to be so wide open and so easily connected to the people that you are uniquely gifted to serve.